Russia just learned that no corner of its territory is safe. In one night, Ukraine expanded the war to Moscow, Crimea, and even Siberia. Over 130 Ukrainian drones pierced Russian airspace, an operation so massive that for 5 straight hours, major Russian cities stayed under constant alarm. Oil refineries burned, fuel depots exploded, airports shut down. The heartland, once considered untouchable, was suddenly vulnerable. And behind the chaos was a message. Hours before the strikes began, President Volodymyr Zelensky had delivered a speech that sounded like a simple morale boost for his citizens, but in reality it was a warning aimed directly at Moscow. Under any scenario, Ukraine must always and will always have sufficient long-range capabilities, both now in wartime and no less afterward as part of the security guarantees for our future, for our children. Long-range capability is a component of independence and will be the greatest component for ensuring peace. Global sanctions and our pinpoint precision are practically syncing up to end this war on terms fair for Ukraine. All deep strike goals must be fully locked in by year's end, including expansion of our long-range footprint. Within hours, those words became action. Russian state media and local telegram channels started pushing emergency alerts across multiple regions. Drone sirens echoed from Moscow to the edges of Siberia. What followed was one of Ukraine's largest long-range strike packages to date. Over 130 drones entered Russian skies. Some were aimed at Moscow, some at Crimea, and others as far east as the Mare El Republique. Russian airports went into lockdown. Flight routes were diverted. Industrial facilities and refineries stopped operations. Cities that had never seen war from the air suddenly heard the sound of it. As usual, Russian officials claimed that every drone had been shot down, but footage from residents told another story. Across social media, people posted clips of explosions, fires, and rising smoke columns. In Russia, when officials say all drones were destroyed, that often means the wreckage destroyed something first. One of the first confirmed targets was the Stavropol chemical plant, a major producer of polyethylene and polypropylene, cheap but vital plastics used throughout the Russian military. Local witnesses captured the moment the attack happened. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Yes, I'd better turn the camera so it'll be visible if they knock it down. Oh, they're flying. Well, the camera's definitely... Nope. Why? Take it. Kaboom. Hell, look at that smoke. They hit it. Look, they're shooting at the factory. This factory is about 700 kilometers from Ukraine's border and part of the Lukoil group, the same company recently sanctioned by the US, forcing it to offload overseas assets. Now, Ukrainian strikes are making it nearly impossible for the company to operate inside Russia. The explosions triggered a large industrial fire that could be seen for miles. While exact damage assessments are still unclear, the significance of the target is not. Polyethylene and polypropylene are the backbone of Russia's logistics and defense manufacturing. They're used in ballistic armor, helmets, ropes, camouflage nets, and even fuel bladders. Losing that capacity means slower production for everything that keeps the Russian military running. It's a deliberate strategy. Ukraine's drones may not carry the same explosive payloads as missiles, but they don't need to. They target supply chains, the quiet arteries of war. In the days ahead, analysts will be measuring how deep this disruption goes. Further south, the strikes intensified across occupied Crimea. Ukraine destroyed a Pantsir S-2 air defense system, a vehicle worth around $20 million, along with 2 radar stations nearby. Those losses open holes in Russia's defensive network, giving Ukrainian drones more freedom to fly undetected. The same night, a thermal power plant in Simferopol was hit, followed by a fire at the Atan oil depot in Verkhnessadovoye. The name may sound familiar because Ukraine already struck this same depot 2 weeks earlier on October 17th. That earlier explosion was so massive that it was visible from space. As Russian forces worked to rebuild, Ukraine hit it again. The message is clear. No repair lasts long enough when Ukraine can reach you twice. In Russia's interior, the pattern repeated itself. 5 explosions were reported at an oil refinery in a refinery site in Ulyanovsk region, reported near Yelansk. The local governor assured residents that all drones were intercepted, but that claim collapsed once videos of burning refineries began circulating online. The damage was visible. During one of these engagements, something unexpected appeared on footage from the ground. Russian soldiers were firing machine guns into the sky. These weren't missile batteries or radar-guided systems. They were anti-drone squads using rifles and heavy guns to defend critical infrastructure. There are two possible explanations. One, Russia has learned it's financially irrational to use multi-million-dollar missiles against drones that cost a fraction of that. Two, the cheaper explanation, Russia is running out of money and missiles, forcing its soldiers to guard vital targets manually. Recent scenes near Moscow seem to confirm the latter. Just days ago, soldiers in trucks equipped with heavy machine guns were filmed patrolling around the Kremlin. Putin's paranoia may be justified, but what looks like an overreaction is fast becoming Russia's national defense policy, protecting strategic infrastructure with men and bullets instead of modern air defense systems. It's a cost-saving tactic that could backfire. When even a drone slips, the resulting explosion can cost Russia millions. One missed shot can erase months of savings. Hundreds of kilometers east, another critical facility was hit, the Mari oil refinery in the Republic of Mari El. It's small compared to Russia's giants, but with a refining capacity of 1.6 million tons per year, it represents roughly 0.5% of Russia's national total. What made this strike remarkable was the distance. The refinery is located nearly 1,000 kilometers, around 600 miles from the front lines. The deeper Ukraine strikes, the clearer its technological progress becomes. Drones flying hundreds of miles through Russian airspace now represent a new phase of warfare. The country once thought distance protected it. Now every industrial site is within reach. As Ukrainian drones climb to high altitude, they evade many of Russia's ground-based radar systems. It's only when they descend for their final strike that soldiers on the ground try to shoot them down. And when they miss, refineries go up in flames. As one Ukrainian soldier joked, a refinery a day keeps Putin away. The economic toll is mounting. Independent estimates suggest that the combined cost of the recent strikes, including refinery damage, destroyed air defense systems, and disrupted exports, has been estimated by some observers to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. That includes halted production, lost shipments, and emergency repairs across Russia's energy corridor. Former US Army General Ben Hodges explained why these specific strikes matter far beyond their immediate explosions. The Ukrainians have focused on destroying Russia's oil and gas infrastructure, specifically Russia's ability to export oil. Without that, I don't see Russia continuing the war beyond next year. This is what pays for everything, and their economy is already shaky. If Ukraine keeps hitting these facilities, especially the ones used for export, that's what really matters for the war. Hodges also called for Western action against Russia's shadow fleet, the aging oil tankers carrying sanctioned crude to India and China. Disrupting that flow could amplify Ukraine's pressure tenfold. When Hodges said beyond next year, he meant the lag between economic damage and battlefield effect. Russia's military operates like a stubborn addict, consuming the nation's fuel and funds long after shortages begin. Even though refinery strikes started months ago, frontline units still receive priority access to diesel. The rest of the country bears the shortage. First, civilian fuel lines, price hikes, and inflation spikes. But eventually, even the military will feel the squeeze. Already, signs are visible. Russia's central bank has warned of runaway inflation. Gas stations in multiple regions have reported supply disruptions. And Putin's emergency decrees to cap fuel exports are direct attempts to preserve what's left for his war effort. Every refinery that burns pushes that system closer to collapse. On the battlefield, Ukrainian drones are also halting Russian offensives in real time. In the city of Mironivka, Russian troops posted footage of their forces claiming control of a district. Hours later, Ukrainian units uploaded their own footage, showing the same Russian group being destroyed by drones. The videos tell the story better than any statement could. Every advance can be erased from the air. These drone strikes have become Ukraine's most cost-effective strategy. For a fraction of the price of a single missile, Kiev can inflict millions in industrial losses, drain Russia's budget, and force the Kremlin to defend its homeland, rather than attack abroad. The scale of this campaign has now made one thing certain: distance no longer protects Russia. From the Black Sea to the Urals, every refinery, airfield, and chemical plant is a potential target. Ukraine frames the strikes as reciprocal. War brought to Ukrainian cities will be met with deep strikes inside Russia. For Russia, the economic and psychological cost is already staggering. For Ukraine, it's a statement of capability. The front lines are no longer defined by trenches or borders, but by reach. And Ukraine's reach now extends deep into the heart of its enemy. The next question is how long Russia can afford to defend itself with bullets against a fleet of cheap drones that never stop coming. Because as Ukraine expands its long-range footprint, the war that once seemed contained to Donbass has now engulfed the entire Russian landscape. And if the pattern holds, the next wave may not just reach farther. It may reach deeper, into the very systems that keep Putin's war machine alive.